Today on Network Africa, insurgents group Boko Haram strikes again, this time killing 4 Chadian soldiers in a recent attack. Also, students protests continue in South Africa as they promise to make the country ungovernable if their demands are not met. Plus, one of the people that were on that boat carrying 600 people that capsized near Egypt recounts his ordeal. Let's begin Network Africa. Welcome to the program. I am Amarachi Ubani. The program today begins with a review of major stories that made headlines on the continent over the weekend.
Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi has requested authorities to punish those in charge of the upsetting of a boat which brought about the death of more than 160 migrants. Salvage specialists and anglers safeguarded 169 individuals after the boat sank off Egypt's Mediterranean with up to 600 on board, suggesting many more may have died. More individuals have been attempting to cross to Italy from the African coast over the mid-year month, especially from Libya, where human traffickers work with relative exemption. Elsewhere, the International Union for Conservation of Nature says Africa's elephant population fell around 20% between 2006 and 2015 as a result of a surge in ivory poaching. Switzerland-based IUCN is viewed as the most genuine source on wildlife populations, and the reports discharged at a UN gathering on the Worldwide Natural Life Exchange will learn a feeling of desperation as a few nations will look to keep the Worldwide Ivory Exchange closed, while others need to revive it. Elephant poaching has increased to take care of intensely hot demand among quickly developing buyer markets in Asian economies. For example, China, the place ivory is paid for item utilized as a part of cutting and elaborate adornments. Then down south of Nigeria, the Niger Delta Avengers say they have carried out its first oil pipeline assault in the nation's Southern Vitality Center since pronouncing a break in menaces in August to seek after talks with the government. The Avengers have beforehand propelled assaults that have decreased the OPEC part's raw petroleum generation by around a third from the 2.1 million barrels per day average at the start of the year. An Avengers representative says in a message later that the assault occurred in the sea near Bonny Island in Rivers State, the area of various oil offices. Army spokesman Sani Utsman added that suspected militants linked to the Bakassi strike force attacked troops in Bakassi in Cross River State, about 160 kilometers away from the area in Rivers, where the Avengers say they had carried out an attack.
We have more on the insurgents group in West Africa. Boko Haram is reported to have killed 4 Chadian soldiers and wounded 6 more following an attack on their base near Niger Republic over the weekend. There were fatalities on the part of the insurgents, however, as the Chadian soldiers killed 7 of them when troops opened fire. Boko Haram has been terrorizing countries in West Africa, with Nigeria, Niger, Cameroon and Chad the hardest hit. However, a joint military task force has been working hard to decimate the group. Recent attacks have proven the group is trying to remain relevant despite suffering losses. Last year, it declared allegiance to the Islamic State, which announced a replacement for its leader. On Sunday, Abubakar Shekau purportedly released a video in which he dismissed reports about his replacement. The Nigerian military says it's now convinced that he's deranged. One other part of Africa still battling insurgency by a group set to be affiliated to the Islamic State is Somalia. The country is trying to get back some stability by conducting elections, but a recent parliamentary poll has been delayed with no official reason given. Some 14,000 delegates were supposed to elect an upper and lower house this weekend, but no voting took place. Somalians believe there are unresolved disputes about how the electoral process should work. Authorities are to shelve plans to hold a one-person, one-vote election because of ongoing insecurity in the country and battered infrastructure. Speaking of politics, neighboring Senegal's President Macky Sall has congratulated the Gabonese President Ali Bongo over his victory at the polls. President Sall is the first African leader to send his congratulations after Bongo's victory was confirmed by the Constitutional Court in a ruling that followed allegations of electoral fraud by opposition leader Jean Ping. Mr. Sall's support is in contrast to the view of European Union monitors, who said that Gabon's Constitutional Court had failed to rectify vote counting anomalies. The UN Secretary General, Mr. Ban Ki-moon, said he had taken note of the court's verdict and welcomed Mr. Bongo's call for a national dialogue to defuse the crisis. Speaking of which, President Ali Bongo has promised he will run an all-inclusive government despite the disagreements surrounding the polls. He said the new government would most likely include leading opposition figures and does not rule out the possibility of reserving a place for the main opposition leader, Mr. Jean Ping. Ping said he was determined to ensure democracy was triumphant in Gabon, claiming the machinery of state had been used to deny the democratic process. Over in the Democratic Republic of Congo, a tense calm pervades the streets of the capital, Kinshasa, following the deaths of 50 people in anti-government protests. A plan to reschedule presidential elections set before the end of the year has been misinterpreted by the public to mean that President Joseph Kabila has plans to remain in office despite expiration of his tenure this year. Though the protests have died down, people fear this is neither the end nor the worst of the crisis.
A weird calm has returned in Kinshasa, the capital of the Democratic Republic of Congo. However, numerous shops and markets stayed shut as individuals stayed home after 2 days of demonstrations against President Joseph Kabila. As indicated by Human Rights Watch, no less than 50 protesters and 6 police officers were killed. The government, which has reprimanded the resistance of the agitation and vowed to punish the agitators, put the loss of life at 32, including 4 officers. The Democratic Republic of Congo has for quite a long time endured stewing displeasure regarding what rivals of President Kabila accept are his endeavors to hold onto power beyond his established term limit, either by postponing decisions or updating the constitution as other African leaders have done. Opposition leader and former ally of Kabila, Moise Katumbi, called for the imposition of international sanctions against security officials responsible for the death of protesters. Protest organizers have vowed to continue with the demonstrations. The Electoral Commission says polls that were supposed to happen in November will not hold for now until at least next year, increasing concerns that Kabila plans to hold on to power beyond his constitutional mandate.
First it was the athlete, now it's an actor. Zambzu Zigay is a big name in Ethiopia, his home country, where he's a prominent actor. But he recently revealed to the Voice of America that he left the country 2 months ago and is seeking asylum in the United States. He told the VOA's Amharic service that the Ethiopian security forces had carried out what he calls atrocious actions, and he decided not to return home until there is a change of regime. Zambzu did not leave Ethiopia alone. He's trying to enter the U.S. along with his wife and 9-month-old daughter. He's become the latest high-profile Ethiopian to flee the country. During the Rio Olympics, marathon runner Feyisa Lilesa said he was afraid for his life and was afraid to return home. Amnesty International says nearly 100 people were killed in anti-government demonstrations in different parts of the country. Zambzu is from the Amharic ethnic group along with the Oromo people who have been at the center of deadly protests against the government.